Why did each of you, let's start with you, Danielle. Why did you choose to come work at Village of Promise?
Working at Village of Promise it's a mission. And when I first started discussing and learning who Village of Promise, I'm going to say who because I feel like we are an entity. We are a village. With that, it's a mission for me. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely daily. You're stepping into the trenches, and we're very fortunate as staff to have a leader like Dana who is right there in the trenches with us and moving forward. But the mission is for the families and the kids and the change.
So whatever you were doing before was just not really fulfilling.
No, I wouldn't say that. I was in nonprofit previous, and then I
Okay.
was very, very fortunate to be able to take. I saw a window to take a couple months off, and I did that because I don't feel like we don't get that as adults. Like, do you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
So when I joined and jumped on with Village, I got excited when I looked it up online and learned of the opportunity, and then when I was able to speak to Dana, and Dana is really passionate about our mission and supporting that. So I was already excited, and then he got me excited, and then coming in, it's really is a community blessing. I mean, if you have a bad day, just come walk down our halls, come hang out with our kids. I feel like
Absolutely.
yeah,
Pick me up.
yeah. Then the teachers, I mean, the teachers are on the front lines and they have extremely hard jobs. And I always joke that I'm the aunt because I get to come in and I get to wave and I get to hug and I get to hang out and then I get to say, okay, we'll
Yeah.
see you
Yeah.
later. But it really is a mission about changing.
Okay.
It's helping to propel people forward, and that's what we're here for. We're showing a depth and a level of love, and that I wish more areas in our society were showing, and I'm grateful to be able to do that.
Yeah. Now, Dana, were you former military as well? Or,
Yeah,
or
actually, I was a lieutenant in the Army. I
okay.
went through the ROTC program and I served at Fort Campbell, Kentucky for 3 years in field artillery.
Okay.
But I'd always wanted to be a special agent with the FBI since I was a small kid. And, after that first 3 years, as the old saying goes, I had been all that I could be
Gotcha.
and loved it. I actually would have made a career out of the military. I think if the opportunity to go into the FBI had not popped up when it did, and I had to make that decision, stay in the Army, make it a career, or
Yeah.
take this opportunity to go into the FBI and live your dream. So I decided I'm going to take that, and uh, I've just had an incredible 24-year career when I was serving. So, how I ended up with the Village of Promise, uh, Bob Ludwig, who used
Uh-huh.
to be the editor of the Huntsville Times,
Okay.
when it was still every day you got newsprint on your
Yeah.
fingers, and just a great guy. But we were connected by somebody that worked with me when I was assigned to the Houston office before I came to Huntsville. And this woman told me, as soon as you get there, you have got to meet Bob Ludwig. And he was one of the first people I met. And just a wonderful individual.
Yeah.
He and I had just crossed paths over the years, but he was the interim director. Uh, it was, I guess, the beginning of 2022. So in May of that year, he gives me a call. And I'm thinking at that point, I've retired from the FBI and I had worked for about 10 years at this point in other jobs. I was at Alabama A&M University for a while.
Yeah.
I worked for a company doing organizational culture change and leadership development because that's one of the passions that I've got. But I thought I was ready to hang up my hat and my wife and I were going to go and just have fun. And Bob calls and says, "Hey, let's talk about the Village of Promise." And I knew what it was and I knew kind of what they did. But I'm like, "Bob, that's great, but time to go play." And I came over for a meeting with Bob and met Bobby Bradley. We had seen
Yeah.
each other around town for years, but that was the first time we really talked. Bobby invited me over to the village and, come on, just take a look. No pressure, just look around. Bobby uses kids as a weapon. I walk in the door and, at one point, I just remember a few of these kids just running up to me and they just glom onto my legs. And I thought, all right, this is where my heart is. And that's the thing that won me over, but the staff and their joy at the work they were doing.
It's a different kind of fun.
Well, I thought I needed to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I talked to my wife about it, and she said, with the skills and the experiences that you have, it would be criminal if you didn't do this.
Yeah.
But the reason I really wanted to do it is early in my career, I did some work in gang and drug task forces up in the Washington, D.C. area. But this was late 80s, early 90s. And if you remember back then, this was a period of time that in Southeast Washington,
Yeah.
I don't think you could set foot there overnight without hearing gunshots in the background every day.
Yeah.
And I just thought, as you arrest people that look like you, after a while you go, there's got to be a way to change the trajectory of those individuals' lives. How do you keep this from happening? And you roll the camera forward about 30 some odd years, and it's kind of like, all right, remember what you said back then? This is your opportunity. Here are these young kids, these young lives, that their future can be improved through an organization like the Village of Promise.
Yeah.
It's time to put your